Hi everyone. Hello, hello. Long time no see. Give everyone a few minutes to pop on as always, but tonight we are talking about handling transition with grace. It's not always easy. Change or shifting, as I like to say. That was recently channeled to me within the last few weeks because change is scary. People don't like the word change, and I get that. So the guidance I was given was to say shift, because that's exactly what it is. I'm going to move the camera just a little closer. Hi. So, hi, Shells. And I always forget. I'm so sorry. I think it's Chelsea. But hi, how are you? Please, as you're coming on, say hi to me. It doesn't always tell me. It just happened to tell me that she was watching because she's a fan of the page. So if you haven't already, if you just follow the page, or if you're new here, hi, welcome, hello. Please go like the page, and then it will tell me that stuff. And plus, it's nice to have you aboard. So handling transition with grace. And I think part of the reason that they channeled to me, they being spirit, channeled to me to use the word shift instead is because if you have not ever watched it, hi Carrie, how are you? If you have not already watched it, the movie The Shift with Dr. Wayne Dyer, who's one of my, I'm so fortunate, he's one of my guides. He passed a few years ago. He's an author and talks a lot about being in flow and changing your outlook. And he always says, you'll see it when you believe it instead of you'll believe it when you see it. So hi, Brandy. It's great. It's a really great movie. Portia de Rossi's in it. And it follows a few different storylines, but they're all intertwined. It's kind of shot in a documentary style, but it's based on his book. And he talks, they interview him at this resort that is just incredibly beautiful. I think it is a real resort. But then the stories about the people, I think there are 4 or 5 different characters that they follow, are fictional, but they're all very relatable. So I'm sure that you'll find yourself, if you choose to watch the movie, which I highly suggest. The first time I watched it was a few years ago, and I was just in tears at the end. It was so powerful and so beautiful and moving. And I don't use this phrase lightly. It was life-changing, life-altering, life-shifting. So The Shift. And when I first watched it, I rented it from the library. So it's available, it's out there. I highly recommend it. It is absolutely beautiful. So when I was in meditation and channeled to shift, my way of speaking about change was to say shifting. That immediately came to mind. So hi, Leanne. Hi, Mom. Hello, everyone. So I will follow my normal protocol. Oh, thanks for the love, guys. Yeah. Any comments, any interactions, sharing the video if you're so inclined and you would like to. Even if you're catching the replay, it all helps the video. It helps the algorithms and gets the video out there. My intention is always that those who need to see it will. So feel free to share the video, share posts, share the page, invite people. This is a safe space, and the more the merrier. And I just always intend to inspire as much as possible. So, what Brandy's doing is posting a link to the video. It must be on Amazon. So thank you for that. And if I remember, someone help me remember. Someone send me a message. Please and thanks. Either on if you know me personally, or text me or something, or send it through the page. Somebody remind me, please, to look for the picture and I'll do it as an actual post on the page and also in my Light Seekers group. So if you're not part of the Willow Tree Healing Light Seekers group and you would like to be, please feel free to knock on the door. We'll let you in. It's a private group simply to keep trolls out. That's it. I just want it to be an encouraging and safe space. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So anyway, and of course I have my cards. So I'll do my talk and hopefully give you guys some words of encouragement to help you along your path, because again, that's my intention as always. And if you have questions, comments, please feel free to interact, because I like that. I like the interaction. It makes me feel connected to you guys. Hi, Amy. How are you? And is it Hyla? Hyla, H-U-L-Y-A, Hyla. I hope I got that right. Hello, hello. Again, if you're catching the replay, hello. Still, please feel free to put comments or message me. I get questions often after I do lives from people catching the replay. So please feel free. So there was this beautiful quote that I found, and I thought it was quite pertinent for tonight. With each transition from one phase to another, we find ourselves saying goodbye to an old friend. The identity that we formed in order to move through that particular time. How beautiful is that? Let me read it again. With each transition from one phase to another, we find ourselves saying goodbye to an old friend. The identity that we formed in order to get through that particular time. So as we're moving through life, growth doesn't stop at 18, right? As we're infants, into toddlers, into small children, into big kids, and then into adolescence and teenage years, and then adulthood. Yes, there's a physical transformation as our bodies grow and change, but there's also an identity that we associate with those phases in life, and that doesn't stop. So you might identify, and I identify as a female, so I'm going to use myself as an example. I identified as a young woman. You might identify, I still do, identify as a daughter, as a mother. When I was married, I identified as a wife. I identified as a healer. Now I identify as a healer and a teacher and a light worker. So my identity has morphed over the years as I have gone through different life shifts, changes. Some of them have stayed the same. I'm still a daughter. And for the last 15 plus years, I have been so incredibly blessed to be a mother to the most amazing human on the planet. And no, my opinion of that will never change. So I'm also a friend and a spiritual warrior and a champion for social justice. I'm refrain on this page, but if any of you are my personal friends, you know that I am, I wouldn't say political, but I have very strong convictions around belief systems of equanimity and people being treated appropriately. So that's the social worker in me. And I'm a Reiki master. So that's part of my healer identity, but I didn't come into that until, I don't know, 5 or 7 years ago. So I've transitioned. So hopefully that helps you to realize where you have also had some shifts and had some identity shifts. And that can change as we go through life. My time as a grief counselor, people identified for 60, 70 years as a wife, and then their spouse dies, and they're like, that was my identity for so long. I'm just going to choose a name. I was Mrs. Miller for the better part of my life. Who am I now? It can cause an identity crisis for sure. Because that was part of their identity for so long. It's not that they didn't necessarily recognize that they're an autonomous person, But because that had been at, what are your top 5? When you think, just off the top of your head, try this as an exercise. You don't have to do it right now, but if you choose to, go for it. How do you identify? What are the top 5 things that you identify as? Wife, mother, daughter, spiritual warrior, light worker, whatever it might be. Though I am not all of those things anymore, that's how I did identify myself for a long time. So I'm going through that shift myself to redefine as I transition from one phase into another, but some of it sticks with us throughout our lifetime. So who are you? And as we go through each of those stages, back to the quote, the identity that we formed during those life stages. So might have been a college student for a few years, but after you graduate, you don't still identify as a college student. That might transition to, I'm a student of life, or whatever it is at that particular moment. Hi, Gina. How are you? And you can shift in those identities. And then sometimes those identities are formed in the shadow. Like all of those things that I just said were of the light, and some are formed in a shadow. So who is this identity that might be wounded, might have caused you to form this identity during a time where you were wounded, a time of trauma, a time of lack? Does that still serve you? Our shadow does serve us, just as our ego serves us to protect us. Don't go down that dark alley at night by yourself. That's a good thing. We need our ego. The ego gets a bad rap. And an unhealed ego isn't necessarily a great thing. So I will give you that. But as we are moving through and healing, how does that identity shift? Some people I have found cling to an identity because it's what they've known, even though it's not. It's like staying in a bad job or a bad relationship. It has served a purpose, but it's not a good purpose anymore, or maybe it never was. But anyway, it's not positively serving the person. So I'll often ask my client, what purpose did that serve? Or how you formed that identity? Do you still need that? Is it because it's been a part of you for so long, you're afraid it's kind of like a blister? It's been a part of me for so long, I'm kind of afraid to let it go, even though it's not fun, it's not pretty, and it's kind of painful. And I know that I'd be better off if we just lanced it, but it's a part of me, so I'm afraid to let it go. And that's okay. Feel through the fear and then let it go. Any of you who have worked with me know. That's how we roll. So as you transition from that phase where it's no longer needed, we don't need that, hi Brian, we don't need that identity anymore, we can let it go. And as you shift out of that, okay, this job, so it might be a job title, or this relationship, a relationship title, is no longer positively serving you, you can let it go and transition into something else. And a lot of times people will stay in those less than, I don't want to say toxic because it can be, but less than desirable, uncomfortable, itchy. I always say my soul gets itchy when I know that it's time to move on from something. Sometimes I will physically wiggle, like, oh, it's so uncomfortable. That's your soul saying, knock, knock, move on. But we can stay in a position where we're not as, it's not as positively serving us. It's not positive. Mercury's in retrograde, by the way, in case you missed it. Hello, we're in week 2 of Mercury retrograde. And oh my God, I'm feeling it. Okay. So, I know y'all feel me. So as that situation is no longer positively serving us, we stay because it's comfortable. Even though it's uncomfortable, at least we know what we're getting here, and not the fear of the unknown can be greater than the itchiness of staying where you are, right? But and I'm probably not thinking of it correctly right now, but it's a meme that goes around, and it's about how we don't shift, we don't change our circumstances until the pain of staying where we are is greater than the pain of letting it go. Carrie, sometimes it feels like I'm always in Mercury retrograde. I feel you, girl. I do. Oh my goodness. So, yeah. I've lost like 4 things. And I'm like, I know. Like how when I have all of my jewelry together and I put it all right here, how does one thing go missing? And it's not the cat. It's not the cat. I don't know. I can't. Things at work are doing the same thing. And we're like, what is happening? Oh. Anyway. So as we transition, we can shed what's no longer serving us. We form these identities through relationships, whether they're romantic or familial or jobs or situational, like the student thing, society, like in church, or our socioeconomic position, whether it's from childhood, from what we're raised with, or what we're thrust into in adulthood, and those groups that surround those socioeconomic positions. So somebody who didn't grow up in country club culture, but then transitioned because of they were able to with a job, or because they came into money, or whatever it might be, then all of a sudden they find themselves at country clubs and doing the golf thing and doing the 3 martini lunches, or whatever it might be. And they might feel really out of place, like, I don't know how to interact with these people because this isn't my group. But now it is because of my socioeconomic status. The converse can also be true. But your hobbies and clubs, school. So like I was a band kid, so that was part of my identity. It still kind of is. It's in there. Even though I haven't played my flute in, sorry mom, like 20 years. When you're in college, things like fraternities and sororities, or other groups or clubs that you might get into. You could always tell the dorm kids in college because we all hung out together. We all lived on campus. You could see us. We would congregate in different places, versus the commuter students who would go together, or all the nursing students would hang out together because you're doing your clinicals together, your cohorts, stuff like that. So we can form these identities by choice, as well as what we're put into in life, our situations. I've been very much drawn to the Phoenix lately for the last month or 6 weeks. Just this melting, it's combustion really, exploding into ashes and then rising again, because that death rebirth energy, maybe it's because the south node of the moon is currently in Scorpio. Wherever your north and south node is, it's always the opposite signs. So my north node is in Cancer, my south node is in Capricorn. You can look up on your birth chart and figure that out. But maybe it's because collectively, just right now, astrologically speaking, kind of like we're in Taurus season, getting ready to go into Gemini season. The sun is moving. The moon does the same thing with the nodes. So the north node is now in Taurus and the south node's in Scorpio. So those are very opposite energies. So maybe that's why this whole Phoenix energy, because Scorpio is, I always say it's the I'm Batman, the dark, brooding, super mysterious and spiritual. Even though Scorpio is a water sign and they swim the depths, they can also be very, I think it's a fixed sign, so they can be really stubborn and hard-headed and resist the change that needs to happen. So death, rebirth, cycle, the Phoenix. So like the phoenix, the old must die in order to be reborn into something new and probably better. As one chapter closes, another one opens. Like we could go on with these metaphors, but as these transitions happen in life, the key to navigating them is with grace. Give yourself grace and compassion and be easy with yourself. One of the best pieces of advice I can give is speak to yourself how you would speak to your best friend, your child, your sister, somebody that you love unconditionally. So sit back if you can. If you're in a safe place, if you're driving, keep your eyes on the road, but you can still hear me. Take a deep breath in and then let it out, however your natural rhythm goes. Do that 2 or 3 times. Take a few deep breaths. Center and ground yourself. Come into your heart space. And think of the very first thing, person, pet, experience that makes you spontaneously smile. Mine just went in his room. That is where you're going to find grace and compassion. How would you talk to that person, to that pet? Even if it's to yourself as a younger child. With grace, with ease, with compassion, and oh honey, it's okay. It's okay to feel how you're feeling. However, there was a book that I used to read Michael when he was little, and it was not Good Night Moon, though we did read that one. It was Sammy, something Sammy. It was written by a psychologist to her son, so I'll have to remember it later. But basically, the child, who's probably 5 or 6, Sammy, asks his mom, "Why do you love me?" And she's like, "Because you're you. You're the one and only Sammy in the whole wide world, and I love you." And I would always say, "You're the one and only Mickey," because that's what we used to call him. "You're the one and only Mickey in the whole wide world, and I love you." And he, "Mom, that's not how it goes." But I think he appreciated it. So talk to yourself like that. What you're going to feel, even when you're mad, and that's what Sammy would say, even when I'm mad, or I took somebody's toy, or I pushed someone off a swing, or something to that effect. Oh, thanks guys. Thanks for the love. Do you still love me? She's like, "Of course I love you. You are not your actions. You are still you. You are not your choices. You are still you." So take that with you as you're going through these transitions. Remember, we can only do in the moment the best that we can with the knowledge that we have in that moment. And if you look back and you have shame or guilt or regret around the choices or actions that you made during those times, give yourself grace. Give yourself compassion. You know what? I now, in this moment, recognize that what I chose to do or say or feel or whatever in that moment wasn't the best thing that I could have done. Great, you learned. I always told Michael that there's mistakes and then an on purpose. If it's a mistake, you learn from it and you grow. If you continuously make that same choice, now it's a choice. That's an on purpose. That's where you should probably make the change. So it's okay. Feel through that emotion, feel through that yuck, whatever that is for you. Feel through the yuck and then give yourself grace. Forgive yourself. If it's someone else, forgive them. You don't have to call them up and say, "Hey, yo, remember that thing that happened 5 years ago? I forgive you." Click. They might not care. They might not remember. They might not be sorry. They might be. But it's not about them. It's about you. Forgiveness is a gift that you give yourself. Forgiveness. That is something that you owe yourself. You don't owe anybody else. You owe it to yourself to forgive whatever happened. That was then. This is now. I have learned. I know that I can make better choices. And even if it's somebody else's fault, you can draw boundaries. I learned that I can draw better boundaries. I learned how to stand up for myself. I learned how to respect myself and say, no, that's not okay. Don't treat me like that. Whatever it is. I went off on a complete tangent. Let me get back to transitions. So you, as you're going through transitions, whether it's a job change, job loss, moving, this is graduation season, graduating. Maybe your kids are graduating and you're becoming an empty nester, and that's a transition. Maybe they're getting, again, wedding season. So maybe somebody's getting married and that's a transition from one aspect to another. Some things have to change. They have to shift. They have to shift. And as things shift, it can be itchy. It can be uncomfortable. It can be really hard. Difficult times give us an opportunity to break through the shell, to rise from the ashes, to climb out of the cocoon and experience the next chapter. As the saying goes, you can't move on to the next chapter. You don't know how the book ends if you don't finish the chapter that you're on and go on to the next one. Some characters might not come with you, and that's okay. But you never know what lies on the other side if you don't allow the transition to happen. Here's another one. Like a crab outgrows this was all channeled to me. Like a crab outgrows a shell, we no longer have the need for this small protection. As we grow and as we evolve and as we shift, our needs shift. Sometimes they're physical needs, sometimes they're spiritual needs, emotional needs. And as those needs change, as they shift, transition, what protection we need also shifts. So when you're in one situation and you've learned everything that you can learn and it's time to transition into the next one, like the crab, it climbs out and it goes and it finds a new shell. We have grown and can protect ourselves free from the fear and the trauma of being weak or small. How awesome is that? As we evolve, as we continue to grow, as we keep writing the next chapter in the book of our lives, then we have this ability to write the story how we want it. We can go and we can find that next perfect shell. Oh yeah, this feels a lot better. This is cozier. This gives me more room to grow, because that's what this life is all about. Growth, learning, evolving, getting closer to source. God, Goddess, Yahweh, whatever. Source doesn't care what you call it. It's a name. Whatever makes you feel good. So like I said, my soul feels itchy when I get this like a viscerally uncomfortable feeling when it's time for me to go find a new shell. I'm kind of there right now with some things. And I get agitated and it's like, I have to move. I have to transition. I have to go to that next level. Like with you can't stay in kindergarten. You'll never graduate if you stay in kindergarten for 12 years. Doesn't work that way, right? We have to level up, and we build the foundation with each lesson with each grade that we complete during this lifetime, or the compilation of multiple lifetimes, if you subscribe to reincarnation like I do. It's normal to have grief around saying goodbye. So as we're going through this transition, it's normal to have the fear and the grief around what we're leaving. Like I said earlier, took me a while, but I got there, around, well, if I stay here, even though it's uncomfortable, it's kind of safe because I already know what I'm dealing with. If I go over there, I don't necessarily know what I'm dealing with. It's like, all right, well, a ship is safe in harbor, but that's not what ships are for. So it's normal to have grief around saying goodbye to this old version of you. But that version is proud of you for growing. It's like, it's okay. It's kind of like saying goodbye. Michael was just saying this tonight, and he said it, I think, every year he's been in school. I don't know how I have a freshman in high school about to be a sophomore. Oh my God. But that's another story. I don't feel old enough. He said he gets this, he said it wasn't like a pain in his heart, but he said he could feel it in his heart chakra. I'm like, I'm doing something right with this kid. He said he felt it. He could physically feel it in his chest, in his heart specifically, in his heart chakra, saying goodbye to his friends and teachers for the summer. So it's kind of like saying goodbye to that previous version, saying goodbye to your teachers. Even though they might be in the building, you might cross paths with some of them again because they might teach. I had the same English teacher my sophomore and senior year, just because she taught different levels of English. There's only so many teachers to go around. So I had her multiple times. So when you say goodbye after you formed a relationship, even though you could knock on the door and say hi in between classes, you don't see them every day. The same thing with retirement. You form relationships with people that you spend 8 hours a day with, right? So they might, people often, I should say, even though it's kind of like, yay, I don't have to get up and go to work every day, but I'm really going to miss you. I'm going to miss seeing you every day because life just continues to roll and you don't have that forced, I hate to say it that way, but it's true, that forced interaction every day. I mean, how many times have you changed a job and you've said to coworkers, let's stay in touch, and thanks to social media, we can, but we're not calling and texting each other. We're not going out to dinner. And the time between those messages grows and grows and grows. Before you know it, it's been some years since you've talked. And it doesn't mean you stop caring about them or wondering how they're doing. It's just not your everyday interaction anymore. So some people mourn that loss, the friendships that are formed. And that's okay. It's normal. Normal to have that grief as people transition out of your life. Even as you yourself transition, some people will say, oh, I miss the person that I was. It's like, okay, let's break that down. Do you really miss that person? Or are there simply aspects that are still inside of you that you can bring to the forefront? That time in your life demanded that you exert some energy and show some character traits, or build some character traits, or even shed some character traits. And then those might lay dormant for a while. You might not need them so much. And maybe you make 2 or 3 transitions and that needs to come up again. It's like, do you really, what aspect do you really miss of the person that you were? Because chances are you've grown into a better version of yourself. So give thanks for those experiences. Give thanks to the previous you, or the previous yous, iterations of yourself. And that's the best way to honor your past self, because I've seen the meme, I'm sure you have too, that says, that person would be proud of the person that you are now. The person that you are now will be thankful to the person you're becoming. So it's a shift. It was necessary. There's no need to be ashamed. So on the flip side of that, if you're like, wow, I was a really awful person, or yikes, that was not the best thing for me to do, or I didn't act the way that I wish I would have. The shoulda, woulda, coulda is that guilt and shame. Let it go. There's no reason to be ashamed of who you were, especially if you have grown. If you cognitively can recognize that there were lessons, that there were some missteps, but that there were lessons that you learned that, man, if I could go back and change it, I would. Applaud yourself, because you know what? That means you learned. You grew. Yay! That's the point. Your spirit team is like, oh my God, high five. We did it. We got that person through. It was necessary for growth. And that's why we're here. That's the message tonight. It's necessary for growth, and that's why we're here. I get so charged when I talk about this stuff. I think it's really exciting. So just be proud of yourself, give thanks to your previous versions, and move forward. Surrender to the process. So Phoenix energy and the word surrender. I saw the word surrender for like 2 months everywhere. It was so great. And for a few years, I have really loved the word grace. And I still do. I'm like, I have Amazing Grace tattooed on my body because it's my favorite hymn. It was my grandmother's favorite hymn. And there's just something about the word grace that makes me feel very peaceful. So surrender. It's not failure. It's not giving up. It's not, it is a little bit of that white flag, right? That proverbial white flag. I surrender. I give up. You're not giving up. What you're giving up, I give up control. You're not giving up your energy. Like, all right, forget it. You're giving up control. You're surrendering to the universe and saying, y'all take over. I'm going to stop rowing my boat and just flow in the stream. There will be times that you'll need to row around rocks, but follow me here. I speak in metaphors a lot. And as you're transitioning, there will be times that you need to put forth some effort, like, all right, we got to get around that rock, or it's time to go to shore and rest for a while. But for the most part, you're not trying to direct so much as you are just taking a breath and letting the universe flow it for you. Surrender to the process. Surrender to the divine plan. Let go of what was and embrace what is. You don't even have to say what will be. Speak as if. I just did a 21-day manifesting adventure with Mike Dooley and Pam Grout. Hay House authors, they're fabulous. I've mentioned Mike Dooley before. He talks about playing the Matrix and manifesting, and he's got a more cerebral mind to it. So Dooley, Mike Dooley. He does stuff on Instagram and I see him more on Instagram than I do on Facebook, but maybe that's just algorithms. I subscribe to his newsletter. Notes from the Universe are his. He's got a book. He's got cards, a couple versions. And I just really appreciate the way that he's just very straightforward. He's full of energy and really great. And I very much enjoy the way that he presents. But he doesn't like talk up here. He talks very grounded. Like, he's not super woo-woo. It's so great. So if you like that kind of, I think he was an accountant or something. So if you like that kind of energy, look him up. He's a great teacher. So during this manifesting adventure, we talked about it's not what will be, it's what is. So instead of embracing what will be, like an anticipation kind of thing, Speak it into, easy for me to say during Mercury retrograde, speak it into existence. Act as if it's already here in your life. So let go of what was, because that's back there, and embrace what is. It's the rule of nature to evolve. I mean, Darwin's theory, you can see it. Evolution's a thing. However we got to that point, that's up to the universe. But evolution, it can be seen. So, like, there are birds that were raptors at one point. They were dinosaurs. They had 4 legs and scales. And now they're feathers and move on. So, it's a thing. We adapt to our climate, physically and emotionally and spiritually. So, and those who can't get left behind. So it's natural to progress, right? That's the whole point of being here, to learn lessons and evolve and progress and get better. It's kind of like going to the gym. You don't just lift 5 pounds forever. You work up little by little by little, or you increase. You don't just do 10 minutes and you start doing 12 and then 15 and then 20, and you keep going, you keep pushing yourself to get stronger. It's the same thing with spiritual, emotional, and mental evolution as well. So have an open mind and an open heart as you embark on this transition, on these new adventures, to use Mike's words, on this journey. And give yourself grace. You've learned and you're moving forward. And like I said, it can be very difficult. I'm going to do cards. Who wants a card? Because I know that there's a delay. So I'll finish my thought while this is catching up. Have an open mind and an open heart through these transitions, even though it can be difficult to accept that these things need to happen. The more that you stop rowing the boat and just float and enjoy the scenery, the easier it'll be for you. Yes, there will be work that you have to put in. Yes, there will be an effort, skin in the game, right? All right, Chelsea. Start with you, dear. As you surrender to the flow, a mantra that I was given many moons ago and that I continue to pass along, because that's what teachers do, right? Math wasn't just invented, but we continue to teach it. It's like spaghetti. I always say it's like spaghetti sauce. Somebody came up with it, and there are a couple variations, and you can make it your own, but really, it's spaghetti sauce, right? Somebody invented it a long time ago, and it's been passed down and taught to the next generation. So a mantra that I was taught was, everything is always working out for me. You could also say, all is well. You could say, I surrender to the divine plan. Whatever words feel right for you, because words do have energy, they do have power. It's the way that our soul speaks, literally speaks, in this realm. So whatever feels right for you, do that. Let's see, and then Carrie. I'm using the Vintage Wisdom Oracle. It's really beautiful. By Victoria Moseley. Gorgeous. All right, Chelsea. Intention. Ooh, this looks like the star card to me. Hopefully you can see that. Intention. I'm going to read it. So my first hit is, what intentions are you making right now? Are you surrounding yourself with good intentions? It's card shows a woman holding a vessel of water. Her gaze is directed and purposeful as she... Oh, sorry, I just kicked the tripod. My bad, sorry. Her gaze is directed and purposeful as she steadily pours the contents into the ether. It also reminds me of the Temperance card with the pouring. A little bit of tarot for you. She hovers on a starlit background of blue and aqua, the colors of the throat chakra, which represent communication and clarity of thought. With thought, sometimes people think third eye or crown, which yes, but it's also throat chakra because that's how we express those thoughts. Water has the capacity to shape-shift form. Everything's just tying right in. This is great. Liquid, vapor, or solid. It also, water takes the shape of whatever container it's in. So the power of intention activates and shapes your reality. Indeed, all creation is driven by the power of intention. Contemplate your aims and intentions. Be clear that they accurately reflect your feelings, thoughts, and spiritual aspirations, and think deeply as to whether they are honorable and worthwhile. Michael and I were talking earlier about be careful what you wish for. And I can look back and see where I have manifested things in my life. And I was like, well, that didn't exactly turn out the way that I wanted it to. That's not exactly what I meant. So where did I go? I don't want to say wrong, but what was I not specific enough? Like if you go to a restaurant and you say, I want a burger, and they bring out a plain hamburger, and you're like, oh, I really wanted cheese and ketchup, pickles, and mustard. It's like, well, you didn't say that. So you can't get what you don't say. And it's a delicate balance between saying what you want and being in flow with the universe to deliver. So you can always set your intention and then say this or something better. That's the surrender part to the universe, where you say, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I would like to have. So if you see this to be fit, this or something better. And that allows the universe to pile on the cheese and ketchup and pickles and mustard for you. Reach for your highest potential. Events might not always manifest as you wish. I just said that. But the purity of your intention will be recognized and accounted for in accordance with the laws of cause and effect. You may harvest your wise intention. Oh, so may the harvest of your wise intentions be bountiful. Beautiful. That's great energy. All right, Carrie, you're next. I'm going to catch up with the comments here in a little bit, guys. Anybody else? Carrie? The deck's getting a little wily on me, Carrie. Got some energy going? I've met you. Balance. That's beautiful. I really, really love that card. Love that journey for you. My fellow Schitt's Creek fans. Balance. Here stands a daintily poised ballerina. Although her balance posture looks effortless, we do not see the many hours of discipline it took to cultivate with grace. Okay, so where are my fellow dancers? I still have pretty good balance. I actually walk better in heels or barefoot than I do in flats because I spent so much time on my toes. I didn't ever do point ballet, but still in classic ballet, you releve, you're up on your toes, pirouette, all the things up on your toes. So yes, it is hours and hours and hours and days and years of practice to build the muscles, to build the technique, to perfect the technique. And it's never, ever perfect, but you work towards it. There's a lesson. As she looks down at the hummingbird, ooh, I didn't even see the hummingbird. Oh, hummingbird. As she looks down at the hummingbird, her fragile wing-like arms fold reverently inward, while she hovers the tips of her toes as if to afford a better view. The male and female hummingbirds represent the relationship between opposites. Yeah, our physical world is full of duality. It just is. It's not just black and white. There are a million shades of gray in between and various other colors. But there's a lot of duality in this realm. Their nest of illuminated golden eggs, the divine culmination of both male and female. From the moment we're born, we enter into the realm of opposites. It's like the deck is speaking through me. That never happens. We soon come to realize that finding an artful balance is not only a continual act of survival, but also an ongoing rite of passage leading to a deeper, more refined understanding of ourselves and our relationship to life. Yeah, that's everything that I said earlier. The delicate balance is essential to survival. If you can't adapt to your surroundings, you're going to get left behind. You're probably going to go extinct. A deeper, more refined understanding of ourselves. The whole purpose of being here, finish my sentence. The whole purpose of being here is to learn and grow. Unconscious drives, attachments, and addictions can manifest as blind spots, making it hard to access our internal compass and navigate our attention wisely. A healthy lifestyle involving exercise and nutritious diet. So, yeah, have a salad for lunch, but then have ice cream at dinner. Life's all about balance. Loss of balance in any domain, be it physical, emotional, or spiritual, can lead to a loss of perspective, clarity, and ultimately our way. So that also, to me, says grounding. So make sure you're grounding yourself. That will help you. It'll help all of us as we go through these transitions with grace, is to remain grounded. Do a grounding meditation, or do what's called earthing. So walking barefoot, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, it's finally nice enough that you can go out and you can do that. Or if you can't, or if that's just a sensory issue, that's just not your thing. Like I'm always afraid of stepping on worms, so I try not to do it very much. You can, if you're so lucky as to be at the beach, grip your toes in the sand, or soak your feet in Epsom salt bath. I did that the other night. It feels so good. It's soothing to the feet, but it's also a really good way to ground yourself. So get a pedicure. They'll soak your feet. Just take care of your feet. Do some grounding, dear. As the author of your own script, if change needs to happen, if a shift needs to happen, you and you alone have the freedom to rewrite the storyline. To realize your dreams, don't be afraid to aim for the stars. But as Grandma used to say, don't be so heavenly bound that you are no earthly good. Oh, that's cute. So get into your lower chakras, your root, especially sacral and solar plexus, the bottom three of the main 7 here. The root chakra is your soil. So if soil is dry, nothing grows. If soil is saturated, nothing grows. It's the balance. You want it perfectly moistened, full of nutrients, so that your seeds of intention can grow. So take care of your root chakra. Do a grounding exercise, meditation, whatever feels right for you. Ground and center. Just breathe for a few minutes, which will help solar plexus. Helps your heart chakra too, because it's lungs. But breathing, focusing on your solar plexus, belly breaths rather than chest breaths, belly breaths. And your sacral is your water center. So making sure that your water is clear and clean in order. So here you go. Ready? Solar plexus is your sun, and it has to shine Not so brightly that it scorches, but enough so that it clarifies the water in your sacral so that it can water your root chakra. See how that works? So balance, find the balance, meditate. I think we can all benefit from our balance in our lives. So let me go back through the comments and let's get into that. All right, Carrie said a while back, have you ever talked about our shadow side and how to accept and embrace our darker side and see it in a more positive light? I did a shadow work, I want to say it was like a year ago. I did a shadow, but I'm starting to understand it a bit more. So I will revisit that and see what we can accomplish. How to transmute into a more positive aspect. Mercury, retrograde, gravy boats. Accept and embrace our darker side to see it in a more positive light. How to transmute. So our shadow, like I said earlier, is a part of us. And it's important to work with the shadow. So I did this about a month ago. I called on Medusa and Morrigan and Mahakali. And I always... Freya, Isis, and Athena are my big three goddesses that I always work with. And Lakshmi is usually in the background somewhere as well. But Morrigan, I really felt her presence. And I love crows and blackbirds. And it's this like dark, brooding, scorpionic energy that can help you work with your shadow. The shadow is not something to be feared. It's not a bad thing. It's just like the ego. It's not a bad thing. It's an opportunity to heal. So we'll get more into that. I'll do a live on that. And then Carrie also said, I have literally been depressed, angry, lashing out because I'm resisting the shift necessary in my current life. I know things need to happen. I love how that works out. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Wonderful. Having a hard time expressing myself. My feelings are telling me one thing, but I want to do something that I'm nervous about. Okay, so hopefully the cards gave you a little bit of guidance. And I mean, if you want to talk away like privately, happy to do that. Throat chakra. So it's blue. Archangel Michael is really good to work with for throat chakra. If it's too open and you're too expressive, and those are the people who have like no filter, they often speak before they think. That's when the throat chakra is like out here. You need to bring it back a little bit. It's the balance of the back and the front of the chakras, which it's been a while since I did a chakra a live about chakras, so I can do that too if you want to learn. If you want me to do a talk about the seven main chakras, how they have a front and a back and they spin and all the things, happy to do that if you guys want. So as you bring your throat chakra into balance, wearing blue, sodalite, lapis lazuli, fluorite, blue stones, aquamarine, Joy Mitchell, here's my plug for my girl Joy Mitchell at the Crystal Den, is wonderful. She is the crystal guru. Anytime I ask her, this is what I'm dealing with, give me a stone, she's like, I got you. Other times I'll say, hey, I'm really attracted to this stone and I don't know why. She'll give me a couple paragraphs, like, yeah, that's why. Right there, that one. So I know that those blue stones can help. No is a full sentence. So is yes. So is yes. Healthy boundaries, speaking your truth. I'm a big fan of speaking the truth. And it doesn't have to be in that unfiltered, nasty sort of a way. It most certainly should be delivered. There's a difference between being assertive and being an asshole, quite frankly. So when we're assertive, we're standing up for ourselves and we're speaking our truth, and it can be in a loving way. It doesn't have to be nasty. It can be very loving. It arguably, in my opinion, it should be in a loving way of saying, I don't love that journey for me. I'm going to go in a different direction. That doesn't align with my purpose, my mission. It's not in alignment with my soul. I don't want to do that. I don't think that that is right for me. Those are all things that you can say, whether it's out loud or not. So building up that throat chakra, expressing yourself, starting with a powerful, strong, simple, no. No, thank you. That's not right for me. Hopefully that helped. Literally been thinking about what I need to be in balance. Libra. Oh yeah. Yep. Libras seek balance. So my moon is in Libra. So my emotional state, I constantly seek balance. It's a struggle. Hitting the nail on the head. That's great. Spirit saying, hello, this is your sign. Here's your sign. Yes. Hi, Kristen. Great. Drink tea with blue flowers. Ooh. What blue flowers? Are they violets? What is that? Yeah. What? Share, Carrie, if you're still on. What blue flowers do you use? I have tea I forgot about. It's probably cold. It's it's blue. It's my mermaid, personalized. When I had much blonder hair, but yeah. Because I'm really a mermaid. I just did a really great meditation last night with from Denise Lynn. And she's, I don't know if she identifies as shamanic, but she has a lot of Native American heritage. I think she's Cherokee. Denise Lynn, Linn, Hay House author. I have some of her decks, and I'm doing, there's every so often Hay House, they rotate through their authors. So every so often, hers is right now, it's a free 3-part video series. You can still sign up and watch the replays. Video 1 was yesterday, video 2 is today, video 3 will be tomorrow. And then usually over the weekend, they give you all 3. And I did this meditation of hers. What kind of oracle was I? And I kind of already knew, but it said that I was a water-based oracle. So I had past lives in Lemuria and Atlantis and Oracle at Delphi. And back in November, I did a meditation with a different author. I don't think she's Hay House, but Amy Robeson. And she did this beautiful guided meditation. She channeled it as she was doing it. And I saw myself as an oracle at Delphi and the initiation and the high priestess energy, because as you guys know, I identify as the high priestess in the tarot and Queen of Cups as well. But every tarot reader sees themselves in the deck somewhere. And for me, it's the high priestess. The spiritual marriage of the earthly queen and the divine goddess is the high priestess. So seeing myself as an oracle at Delphi, like, yep, that feels so right. So in a past life, I do believe fully that I was one of the oracle at Delphi. Butterfly pea flower is a great one. Ooh, nice. Thank you, dear. Thank you for sharing that. Highlands, we'll have to check that out. So if you are so inclined, you can look that up, Denise Lynn, and see what kind of oracle you were in a past life. And the meditation that I did, took me back through Lemuria and Atlantis and Delphi. Like, yep. I'm also a Pisces sun sign, so definitely a mermaid. I love the water. I love to be in water. I'm not afraid. Never have been, to my knowledge. Mom, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I've ever been afraid of water. I love water. I love being by water, in water. Yes, please. I also have really great hair. Look, I don't say that kind of stuff, so take it. Also bought a few teas from Blue Collection. From Magic Hour. Highly recommend Magic Hour teas as it's pricey, but in my opinion, totally worth it. Great. So if anybody, I'm going to check it out. If anybody feels so inclined, there you go. Thank you, my dear Carrie, for sharing that. Awesome. So does anybody have any questions, any parting thoughts, advice for your fellow travelers? Me too, Carrie. Me too. Our sun and moons are flipped. So what I think is so interesting is that Pisces is represented by the two fishies that are swimming in opposite directions, and Libra's the scales. So both of them are about balance. How funny is that? So if you you can get Cafe Astrology, you can get a free chart. Yasmin Boland also has a free chart. The one on Cafe Astrology is really inclusive, really detailed, especially if you know your time. So you need to know your date of birth, which most of us do, location, or as close as you can get it, and then the time, again, as close as you can get it. And it'll give you the major stuff, like your sun, your moon, your rising, Mars, Venus. Mercury is the one that changes the most. So you can understand Mercury retrograde more if you know where Mercury is in your chart. We have all 12 zodiac signs in our chart, all 12 houses. So depending on your birth chart, mine happens to go in order. So my rising sign is Aries, it's in the first house, and then Taurus is in the next house, and then Gemini is in the third house, and so on and so on and so on. So you can find out a lot about yourself. And as you progress through life, how all of that works out. Herbal brew, nice. Hi, Karen. Yeah, great information. Thank you, Carrie. So as you are exploring your birth chart and figuring these things out, I did a live a while back that was you're more than just your sun sign. So I go into the major placements of, and I'm studying astrology right now, so I'm learning some more. So I'll revisit that and do an updated, more in-depth live at some point if you guys want me to. It is really helpful. Yeah. Carrie said Cafe Astrology is very in-depth, very helpful. Have a wonderful night. Thank you. Absolutely. We're going to wrap up anyway, so feel free to pick up where you left off. I'm about an hour and 10 minutes in, just so you can fast forward if you want to, or if you can listen to the rest of it. Thanks for joining. So sun sign is your essential self. Your moon is how you are with your emotions. Your rising sign is like your trajectory for how you present yourself out in the world. So my rising sign is Aries, so I tend to be a leader. I'm not one of those people that is the first one in line to buy the newest iPhone or to try the latest and greatest blah, blah, blah. I let other people do that first. But being the teacher and the healer and kind of leading the way, leading the charge, being a light worker, that's how Aries plays out in my life. Astrology, yeah, Carrie, it is so deep. it does get complicated. I'm going to be studying it for a long time, but that's why most people are like, oh, this is my sun sign, but I don't really resonate with that. Check out your rising sign. That might, especially as we get older, that might shed some more light on some things. How you present yourself. Our Venus sign is how we are in relationships and what we look for in relationships. So I have my rising, my Mars, and my Venus all in Aries, and Mars rules Aries. So I have a lot of fire in my chart for being a water sign, but I do identify with a lot of the Pisces traits. Very spiritual. We're the culmination of all the 11 before us, so all 12 signs. We tend to be older souls. It's just who we are. And confusing. Yeah. Oh, you're taking the class that Joy had? Oh, that's great. Oh, I wanted to take it, but I just couldn't devote the time on those days. So I'm hoping next time around I'll get to do it. So it's really exciting. But astrology really can help you understand yourself. And then as you understand yourself more, you can understand others. It's like the love languages live I did a couple weeks ago. As you understand your own, you can start to understand others and how they show love or how they need love, which can be different. But someone who does acts of service as their love language, how they express love, might actually appreciate being shown through touch. So it's not always both give and receive. Sometimes it is. So often we can learn a lot about somebody by their love language. So there you go. Anything else anybody has? Thank you all, as always, for joining me. I often wonder how many people really want to listen to me yammer on about stuff. So thanks for being here. I hope it's helpful. That's always my intention, that it's helpful, insightful, and somehow helps you get to that next level of evolution, that soul growth, because why? That's why we're here. Right? And if you're catching the replay, or if you're rewatching this and something comes to you, you think of a question, if you want a reading or an energy session with me, just reach out. I am here. And so is Phineas. You gonna come say hi? No? Okay. Phineas is my familiar, for those of you who don't know. Oh, maybe he is. He's my kitty. And he's very cute. Aw, thanks. Come here. Here he is. Say hi, everybody. Pretty boy. He's so chunky. So, hello. All right, time to go. All right, everyone. I don't have any plans for the next live in particular, so if you have any requests, let me know. Send me a message or comments. Happy to oblige. Otherwise, it'll just be whatever spirit channels to me. And it'll probably be after Memorial Day, because next week's wild for me at my Muggle job. So I don't know if I'll have the energy. And then we have a holiday weekend, so it might be after that. But yeah, yes, he's best kitten. He's rotten. Best. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful night. Thank you for joining. Take care.